at the suit of swords. The suit of swords is governed by the element of air, so that would be Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. This represents the mind, intellect, truth, communication, and sometimes conflict. In context, the suit illustrates the journey of the human mind as it struggles to grasp divine truth, faces harsh judgment, and navigates the inevitable conflicts that arise from confronting reality. The Ace of Swords, mental clarity, breakthrough, sharp truth. Word of God is alive and active, sharper than any double-edged sword. It penetrates even to dividing soul and spirit, joints and marrow. It judges the thoughts and attitudes of the heart. This is the initial powerful infusion of razor-sharp truth and divine clarity that cuts through confusion. As we see a sharp, shiny sword up against the dry, brown, parched land with green leaves coming off of it, like an oasis or a drop of water in a desert. The Two of Swords, stalemate, indecision, fear of choice. Pilate and the choice of Jesus or Barabbas in Matthew chapter 27, verses 15 through 26. Pilate, the ultimate judge, literally washes his hands of the decision, choosing a position of neutrality, paralysis, rather than using his mental and political power to determine the just outcome. This shows the fear of a definitive intellectual choice. The Three of Swords, heartbreak, betrayal, painful separation. The crucifixion and the sorrow of Mary in Luke chapter 2, verses 35, and John chapter 19, verse 25. The prophecy to Mary that a sword will pierce your own soul symbolizes the profound emotional pain and sorrow resulting from the loss and separation. The intellect, swords, confronts a reality that breaks the heart, cups. The Four of Swords, rest, recovery, mental recuperation. Elijah hiding in the cave in 1 Kings chapter 19, verses 1 through 8. After a great triumph and then a threat to his life, Elijah flees to a cave and is in a state of mental exhaustion and withdrawal. He rests, is fed by an angel, and receives quiet counsel from God, a necessary period of stillness after conflict. The Five of Swords, hollow victory, loss, humiliation, winning the battle but losing the war, cunning, winning at all costs. Cain killing Abel in Genesis chapter 4, verse 8. This was an act of bitter conflict and selfish action motivated by mental comparison and envy. The victory for Cain is immediately followed by exile and a curse, representing the ultimate tragic loss that comes from a ruthless mental position. The Six of Swords, moving on, transition, leaving troubled waters behind. Noah and the ark in Genesis chapter 8, verses 1 through 12. The journey of leaving behind a world of chaos and trouble, the flood, troubled waters, and moving toward a new, unknown land on the horizon. It is a slow, methodical journey of transition and mental acceptance of change. The Seven of Swords, deception, stealth, intellectual maneuvering. Jacob deceiving Isaac to get the blessing in Genesis chapter 27, verse 1 through 40. Jacob uses an intellectual ruse, disguise, and careful planning to steal the blessing meant for Esau. This highlights the use of the mind for cunning, evasion, and taking what is not rightfully one's own. The Eight of Swords, self-imprisonment, feeling trapped, mental barriers. The Israelites in exile, slavery, in Exodus chapter 1, verses 8 through 14. The physical and mental state of being bound and unable to move, trapped by the collective thoughts and laws of their captors. This card often reminds the querent that the bonds are mental, like the walls built by the swords or thoughts, and can be broken with a change in perspective. The Nine of Swords, nightmares, anxiety, worry, mental anguish, insomnia. Job on the ash heap in chapter 3, verses 1 through 6, the book of Job. Job, after losing everything, sits in a state of utter mental despair and agony. He is tormented by his own thoughts and the perceived cruelty of his fate, representing the peak of anxiety, grief, and sleepless anguish. The Ten of Swords, rock bottom, betrayal, complete ending, intellectual exhaustion, and pain. The fall of the Tower of Babel in Genesis chapter 11, verses 1 through 9. Now, as we journey the court cards, we start with the Page of Swords. This represents curiosity, new ideas, and mental alertness. The Page of Swords represents the beginning stages of mental awakening, intellectual curiosity, a keen interest in truth, and initial, sometimes clumsy, attempts at communication or defense. A reference here is Isaiah chapter 2, verse 4, and also Micah chapter 4, verse 3. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. The alignment here is beginnings and potential, while this is about ending conflict. The page, as a beginner, holds a sword that is not yet fully a weapon of war or a tool of judgment. We move on to the Knight of Swords. This is ambition, swift action, and directness. The Knight of Swords is the embodiment of fast, often impulsive movement and ambition, direct confrontation, and charging straight toward the goal. Psalm chapter 18, verse 34, a warrior's description of God's help. He trains my hands for war so that my arms can bend a bow of bronze. The alignment here evokes the training and immediate readiness for battle inherent in the knight. It's about being equipped for decisive, powerful, and immediate action toward a clear objective. The Queen of Swords is a very clear thinking, communicative, independent, and sharp-witted feminine energy. The Queen of Swords embodies perceptive clarity, independent thought, direct and honest communication, and the ability to set firm boundaries. She's often seen as someone who has gained wisdom through hardship. A reference is Ephesians chapter 6, verse 17, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. We align with this because it speaks to wielding the truth, which is the Word, as a defensive and offensive tool in spiritual warfare. The Queen is adept at using her intellect and clear words, her sword, for self-protection, wisdom, and establishing boundaries against confusion or deceit. And last, but definitely not least, we have the King of Swords. This is authority, intellect, communication, truth, and judgment. He represents a mastery of intellect, authority, clear judgment, and the power to enforce truth and justice, sometimes thought of as a police officer, a clergyman, a judge. Some good scriptures that may correspond with the energy of this card are Proverbs 2:6. For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth come knowledge and understanding. Or Psalm 37:30. The mouths of the righteous utter wisdom, and their tongues speak what is just. This highlights the king's role in speaking the truth and upholding justice, which is a core upright meaning of the card.